Well, it's great to be with everybody. Thanks for joining us, and it's good to see my friend Ron Wyden. But why don't we just jump right in? So Jen from Facebook asks, will these budget cuts affect me even though I live in a blue state? Well, the answer is yes, absolutely. This is national legislation that will impact everybody in the United States and will harm everybody in the United States. And the whole idea here is to provide very big tax cuts to billionaires and very wealthy people at the expense of everybody else, regardless of what state you live in, red state, blue state, purple state. It will hit everybody because the reality is that when you cut, for example, Medicaid or food and nutrition programs, that impacts people, harms people in every state. So this is a very bad news bill. And again, on top of the cuts that will be made, it's also going to dramatically increase our national deficits and debt. The Congressional Budget Office, which is a nonpartisan entity, they're kind of like the umpire in the baseball game. They call balls and strikes. They said that this would increase our debt and deficit by $2.4 trillion just over the next 10 years. And in the process, they indicated that about 11 million Americans will lose access to affordable health care. So you can see the choices that Republicans are making as part of this reconciliation bill. So we have another question from Cyan Bloom's audience question. The current funding bill impacts IDEA funds originally meant to support children with disabilities. What are you doing to protect children with disabilities? How are you organizing with your fellow congressional colleagues to flip votes against this bill in the Senate? There's absolutely no doubt that the Republican bill will do dramatic harm to individuals with disabilities. The primary way it will impact them is through the Medicaid cuts, because Medicaid is a program that definitely benefits individuals with disabilities. There are three main categories of people who Medicaid is important to are: number one, seniors in nursing homes; number two, individuals with disabilities; and number three, lower income families who can't afford health insurance. And so when you go after those programs, you are, according to the Congressional Budget Office, hitting about 11 million Americans who are going to lose access to that care. With respect to IDEA funds, this is a program that I've fought for my entire time in public service. In fact, IDEA is already underfunded. What do I mean by that? I mean that current law that was put in place a long time ago promised that the federal government would pick up 40% of the costs of IDEA. As we speak here, the federal government's only picking up about 16% of those costs. So I've introduced legislation that would mandate full federal funding of IDEA. That's really what we need to do, as opposed to this legislation, which together with the Republican budget will do great harm to IDEA, including the budget. Next question, Jeremy from Instagram. What's going to happen to EBT, electronic benefit transfers? So what they do is they do go after food and nutrition programs. They cut those very dramatically, about 200 billion, 300 billion in cuts. What that means is that families who obviously need access to the programs just to put food on the table, these are people who are living paycheck to paycheck, will be hit. And I should say that a lot of people are going to be hit multiple times by these cuts, right? So, for example, if you're somebody who's had their health care taken away, you're also going to have less support from the SNAP program, the food and nutrition programs, and you're also going to be hit by their efforts to take away, for example, the LIHEAP program, which is a program designed to help people with their energy bills. So this is going to hurt people across the board. In terms of the electronic benefit transfer, I don't know if this has any specific impact on that mechanism, but what I do know is that it will do you a lot less good to have EBT if you no longer have funding for the SNAP program to begin with. So we have a question from Sawyer Hackett's audience. What part of the bill is no one talking about, but people should know? That's a good question because there are so many bad things in this bill. I do want to mention one provision that's gotten a little bit of attention, but not enough, which is they snuck into this bill a provision that essentially would prohibit judges and courts from enforcing decisions in the event that the Trump administration doesn't comply with a court order. So, for example, if you defy a court order, judges should be able to sanction the Trump administration lawyers. But they've essentially taken away funding that would allow you to do that. Now, we strongly believe that that violates the rules in the Senate regarding the reconciliation procedure. We strongly believe we will be able to take that out, but it is important to realize the lengths to which they will go to try to prevent courts from holding the Trump administration accountable. Another provision like that would actually put a 10-year moratorium on any state regulation of AI. Again, this would be, in my view, a big mistake. We need to establish some rules of the road at the national level on AI, and if you prevent states from doing it, you take off the pressure of doing this at the federal level. So those are a couple of provisions that haven't gotten a lot of attention, but we hope to be able to get rejected out of the bill through the process in the Senate. We're going to the next one. So Rachel Bender's audience, will it affect education or school budgets? So this particular bill, the reconciliation bill, will not directly impact school budgets, but education and school budget. But I want to hasten to add, there's a parallel process going on, which is the whole budget submission from the Trump administration. And if you look at that, yes, you're going to see significant cuts, unfortunately, to important education programs. And of course, as part of their plan, they want to literally eliminate the entire federal Department of Education. So if you look at these things together, it will dramatically undermine our ability to provide federal support for our kids' education. And we need to stop both the efforts, their efforts on the budget and also on the reconciliation bill. Now I'm very pleased to see that my friend is in the room, Senator Schatz from Hawaii, who's a really essential part of our Democratic caucus, a great leader, and he's going to take over to answer some questions now. But thank again all of you for joining us, and thank you for being in this fight, because we have to remember that back in 2017, when there was an effort to destroy the Affordable Care Act, it was because, like people who are tuning in right now, rallied. We were able ultimately to defeat their effort to destroy the Affordable Care Act, but by only one vote in the United States Senate. So we're going to need to work together to defeat this bill now. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Senator Brian Schatz. All right.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to thank you for tuning in, and I want to reiterate what Chris just said. Look, I think we can kill this bill.